All right, welcome inside the SJHL Weekly Studios. I'm your host, Clark Munroe. It's a playoff edition of the show. We have games 1 and 2 to recap. A big weekend, a lot going on, and some great stuff to talk about. So we're going to dive right into it before too long. And of course, before we do any of that, though, want to get right out of the gate and thank all of our sponsors. So let's start with Borgo, Capital Auto Mall, Cantera Seeds, Sask Lotteries, Chevrolet, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Nutrien, Tourism Saskatchewan, Sask Energy, UPL, SGEU, Great Western, SGI, and RBC. It was a fantastic weekend. The rinks were packed. And I know all three of us were in different buildings throughout the weekend. Nugsy, I'm going to get to you. Just chill for a second.
All right, I'm just going to go.
Yeah. Rory McGouran, you were up in Flin Flon.
Yeah.
And got a little heat this weekend. You want to discuss?
A little bit.
You want to talk about what happened?
Yeah. Give me my ISO cam here
Here
for
we
a
go.
second. All right, let's square in on this.
You want some water first?
No, we are fresh. We are ready
No.
to go. Now, this job, this position, which I am very grateful for, does give us, Nugsy, Clark, myself, in whatever role we do, a platform where we get to watch, we get to take in everything we see, and then we get to talk about it, we get to write about it, we get to, basically, hopefully tell a story for the listeners that weren't there or were there to elaborate on. Now, what we also do is put our faces in behind our words. We put our names on what we write. And that, in turn, comes with scrutiny, and it comes with sometimes some criticism, which we are all very well open to. So for anyone back home, though, that hides behind a pseudonym, that doesn't have their name on anything they say and isn't open to criticism, that likes to drag people down while they do it, I just want to see if you have what it takes in you to put your name on it. If you have something to say, put your name on it, and then we can have a discussion about it. Other than that, keep sharing, keep watching, keep telling other people what we're saying, and we'll keep winning. So that's all I have to say about that.
Well, there you go.
You know what? I just want to throw a little bit of respect towards Nick Saragella, because he posts things. Some people don't like
His
it.
name is on it.
But everybody knows that where to find Nick Saragella in Estevan.
And he doesn't back down.
He doesn't back down. So hey, he's not out here as a free agent.
Still love that.
So what I'll throw quickly in is we're not talking about Nick Saragella.
We are talking about just one person.
Yeah.
I took slack on a lot of different platforms. But most of the people didn't have their name or who it was. I kept like, hey, great point, Paul. Right? I can't say that.
Yeah,
I'd love to
Paul.
be able to have a conversation with Paul or with
Paul.
James.
Big fan of
right?
Paul
No,
and
I don't
James.
know who it is. So
You can have, my name is James. You can talk to me.
Yes, it's true. Well, there you go. Thank you, Rory, for that. I think that was important. And
Little vagrant, love it.
at the end of the day, we're all talking, and that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing. And, the end of the day, we are all in different buildings. And Nugsy, let me hear your experience. You were in Weyburn. You want to talk about that one?
Yeah. Hey, first of all, there are great parents in this league. Lots of great parents.
So true.
But there's no better parent than Garth Grill. Who we were talking, and Rory and I were talking. I told him about how Rory and I had this plan to pitch the Warman owners that give us a certain dollar sign and we'll be a great package deal. And he said they should give it to you guys.
Yeah.
And Garth Grill is an absolute beauty. Jordan Grill, of course, the Battlefords defenseman's dad.
Yeah.
But yeah, anytime I've watched Battlefords and Weyburn this year, fellas, it has been a doozy. This playoff series between them has already been a doozy. It's just 150 miles an hour. It's a great advertisement for the SJHL. I've enjoyed it. It was enjoyable being in the rink in Weyburn. Cody Mapes may not allow me back in the rink if I keep coming and Weyburn keeps losing when I'm there.
Yeah.
But maybe the players should just play better. And that would probably solve some of his problems, and not whether I'm there or not.
Right.
I got to award Max Chakrabarty the Rookie of the Year alongside Kyle McIntyre. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then there was a hockey game, and Battlefords played very, very well, and Weyburn did not.
There you go. And I was in the building in Yorkton on Friday for Game 1, and that was a fantastic game as well. Jerron Denway got Forward of the Year. You can't see me in the photo of Jacob and Kyle giving the award, but I'm like right behind Jacob in the penalty box there. So anyways, great atmosphere. Wow, that's a fun series. I wasn't in the building for the overtime game on Sunday, but the Friday game was still fantastic. So again, the crowds, love to see it all, everybody coming out and having a great time. Let's get into the recaps. Before we do, I guess, we got a lot of comments already. A lot of people agreeing with you, Rory. Calvin Tokarczuk, speaking of Yorkton, says, well said, Rory, keep up the great work. James Swenson says, so funny. I think he's talking about that. I don't know for sure.
Maybe the James I want to have a conversation with,
Maybe
too.
James. That might be him.
It's a great way of spelling James.
It is. And then don't put Chris MacArthur's comment up, but Chris MacArthur said, you know, something about
Was
you.
Chris on my side or not?
No, he's from Flin Flon.
Well,
so
that's okay,
he was
because
on the
Chris
other
has
side.
his name on it.
Yeah.
That was my whole point.
We don't have to worry about what he said, but
Chris is allowed to say whatever he wants.
I did say, now, Chris, and then Chris did say, I'll behave. So Chris is going to behave from here on out. Sal Wollashin says, SJHL Insider and Weekly are comparable to TSN Overdrive. Sal, appreciate you as always. Sal was the insider. He was the one that said Leighton Carruthers was going to be in the lineup for game one.
He was right.
He was right
So
on.
shout out to Sal.
He was at Flin Flon practice.
Yeah. Shout out to Sal. Anyways, let's have a look at the recaps now. Let's have a look at Fridays. Obviously, all game ones were played on Friday. You saw a 5-0 Humboldt win, Flin Flon win over Humboldt, I should say. Sorry, Rory. Yorkton, as I mentioned, had a 4-1 win over the Melville Millionaires in game one. Again, fantastic game. Very close. It was obviously an empty netter for that fourth goal, so it was a very close game. Speaking of close games, 4-3 Weyburn over Battlefords in game one. And then Melfort, a 5-2 win over Kindersley. That game was close, though, for a little while. And then Melfort kind of poured it on at the end. And then on Saturday, there was 3 game twos, not all 4. Flin Flon took a 4-2 win over Humboldt to take a 2-0 series lead. Battlefords tied up the series with a 5-2 win. As Nugsy mentioned, he was in the building for that one. And then a 6-1 win, Melfort over Kindersley to take a 2-0 lead in that series. And then on Sunday, the other game too, because Elvis Stoico was in Yorkton on Saturday, folks. So this one was played on Sunday, and it was a thriller 6-5. Yes. Thank you, Bryce. A thriller 6-5 overtime win. David Coyle with the game winner in overtime in that one. What a weekend. I see Don McInnes checking in saying, what a weekend. Absolutely. Fantastic weekend. Let's start with Melfort Kindersley, Nugsy. Obviously, the number 1 seed, the number 2 seed. However, I think a lot of people, myself included, are very, not surprised, but very pleased to see that Kindersley is really putting up a good fight in this, I think, anyways.
Well, I always talk about, when you're going to try to pitch an upset, if you're 8v1, the first box you always need to check is goaltending. We said, would it be Jamin, would it be O'Halloran? Both of them have been very, very good for Kindersley, and that's sort of been the one maybe bright spot so far for the Kindersley Clippers. They got a lead in game 2. Cody Jamin made about 1,000 good saves before it was just too many maybe to make. But in terms of the good scoring chances so far in this series, especially first 2 games at the Palace, it's what you would expect. 41-12 for Melfort in terms of home plate scoring chances. 41 good chances over 2 games.
Yeah.
That is a lot for the Melfort Mustangs. So you know what? That's what's going to happen. And you're never in trouble, as they say, until you lose at home, as they always say. So I'm sure that's what Clayton Jardine, not Cody Jardine, is saying. So here are the burning questions. I'll skip the first one. Will they lean on veteran Jamin or O'Halloran? I think we can answer saying they're going to use both.
Bit of both.
How will the Clippers generate offense either in even strength or in the power play against this Melfort team that gave up the fewest amount of goals? 3 goals allowed for Melfort so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue isn't how will they generate offense. When you look at that stat line of high danger scoring opportunities through 2 games, you gave Melfort 41 of them. Like, that is the more glaring issue than how is Kindersley going to generate enough offense, because Melfort is overpowering over time, and that's what they've done all season long. They're too good to be giving that many chances to. As good as your goaltenders played, as you mentioned, both of them sub 900 save percentage, but that's just because how many chances you gave up. Your goaltenders weren't bad. They were actually good, but a save percentage can look like that if you're giving up that many chances. Kindo also had a lead or a tie game going into the second period. So they were there, but that's just Melfort being overpowering overtime, and you give up too many chances. Not worried about the offense. I'm worried about giving up that many opportunities.
Just layers of depth for Melfort, and that's tough for anybody in the SJHL to deal with, not just the Kindersley Clippers. The good news, I would say as well for Kindersley, is that this is the best Mason Buchert we have seen in a Kindersley jersey. He's got a goal and an assist. And not only that, he could have had more. He had a bunch of good chances, and he looked a lot more, how do I word this? A lot more mobile, a lot more dynamic. And I think there have been times in a Kindersley jersey where he's looked a little sluggish, and a little bit slow. And I'm sure that he would feel and he would say that he hasn't represented himself in his best possible way in a Kindersley jersey since being acquired at the trade deadline from L'Orange. But that is, the good news. We always talk about you need your best players to be your best players. And on paper, Mason Buchert should be L'Orange's or Kindersley's best forward, or at least one of them.
Yeah.
15 Melfort Mustangs already have at least a point. 9 of them have multi-points. It's layers, as you said.
Yeah.
It's
Waves.
not a top line driving. They have a top line team, but is it as dominant as the top line last year? We both agreed that it wasn't.
Yeah.
But it's just so deep.
Yeah.
15 players
Yeah.
in 2 games have at least a point.
Yeah.
And like you said, though, Kindersley, halfway through this game that we're seeing right now on this highlight pack, halfway through, it was a 1-goal game that was tied. And then Melfort just poured it on in a very short period of time. I still think Kindersley is right in this. I don't think they need to necessarily hang their heads. I think they need to jump back into it, especially at home, and come out. And we've seen them play very good at home a lot this year. So will we see that now? Now's the time. Any other burning questions you wanted to touch on this one?
No, just I think the last one was just around whether Melfort would be able to rev their engines back since they had glitched first overall. I don't think that's, again, worth talking about. They've clearly come out. Again, you were saying they needed maybe a period in each game to get going.
Do you think that's a good thing, though, for them? Maybe it is.
Well, that they don't win 100-0.
That there was a little adversity in each game.
Right.
Yeah.
That build upon.
I think
right?
I don't think Trevor Blevins is worried really about anything.
No. Let's move on to the Flin Flon Humboldt series. Obviously, game 1, Flin Flon had a 5-0 win, and then a 4-2 win in game 2. What do you want to touch on this one, Rory? What stands out to you the most?
Yeah, the Flin Flon Bombers are, just as difficult as the Melfort Mustangs to eliminate in the playoff series, especially up in the Whitney Forum. I thought the game 1 was, close for a bit. I know Humboldt likes their first period. It did unravel to a point where the third period they were outshot 24-1, a 5-0 score, a Matthew Keeper. First playoff game, mind you, since his AAA career. He has never played a playoff game as Matthew Keeper.
Wow.
And he turns and makes a shutout in his very first one. So he picked up where he left off. Flin Flon's power play is too dangerous for the Broncos to be as undisciplined as they were, whether they agree or not with calls that were or were not made. They were to the box 15 times in 2 games, and they only had 5 power plays. So Flin Flon took advantage of this, and they buried the Broncos on both of these special teams, going 100% on the PK, and 23 or 24% on the power play, but 4 goals on 15 times. Look at game 2, where it's 4-2. Broncos give up 2 power play goals and an empty net. They win that game 2-1, 5-on-5. I think they like their game 5-on-5. They feel especially a lot more confident after game 2 than they do game 1, 5-on-5. But at the end of the day, if you are running to the box, there were some undisciplined penalties taken by Humboldt in both games, and you are putting Flin Flon on the power play, you're not going to win this series. You're not even going to win a game if you're shorthanded 8 times. And that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest takeaway. You got to stay out of the box.
You got to stay out of the box. And you know what? History says that, Kindersley, Humboldt, and even Melville are in trouble because 2022 was the last time in the first round a team went down 2-0 and still won the series. So that's 17 series in a row. So we have a bit of a crisis here. And if you're the Humboldt Broncos, certainly you can say, the Whitney Forum and everything kind of gets everything going. And when you get, a little bit feeling that avalanche is coming on you, that's when you often take penalties. And that undiscipline for Humboldt is a bit of a crisis. And what Winston Churchill said in 1942, he said, never waste an opportunity offered by a good crisis. So what I mean by that is Braden Klamosko and Stromey, the boys, need to see the fact that they took way too many penalties, that things kind of went away from them in those first 2 games as an opportunity to rally and play a lot better at the Elgar Peterson Arena, because I and you and a lot of people thought that this would be, a really hard, long series. Again, if it's not better than 15 power plays over 2 games for Flin Flon, it's going to be a very short series.
It's very short.
Yeah.
So, very short.
There you go. What were you going to say, Rory?
Well, nothing. I'll take you into the dressing room, and I found this a very interesting thing, and it's how they thought that the Broncos played in game 2. There was no shortness of confidence and belief after game 2 with the way they played. In fact, the head coach, Braden Klamosko, even said, I feel better down 0-2 after seeing that game than I did after game 1. Even though they're down 0-2, that he knows he has to win 4 of the next 5 games. But the way he saw them play and the way they can play, he thought that I feel better now than I did after game 1.
Yeah. Well, they say, as I said, you're not in trouble till you lose at home. You're also only in trouble if you don't like your roster. And the Broncos clearly like their roster still. Yeah. I still like their roster. So we'll see. Now let's look at the burning questions here quickly. Jacob Streetsy led the Broncos. And Rory, you had a thought about Jacob Streetsy, especially in game 2, even though he got no points.
Oh, yeah. Off air, I told you he was off the scoreboard. I thought it was one of the best games I've ever seen him play. He's had 6-point game against Battlefords. He used his size. He was in the muck. He was in the corners. I don't care if he doesn't get a point the rest of the series if that's the game he's playing. It was one of the best, most complete games on both ends of the ice that I've seen him play. Yeah,
well, that's very important. Who will do better in this goaltending matchup between Keeper and Daza?
It's Keeper right now, and that was without question. Daza's faced more shots, but there is more goals that Daza would want back than Keeper would want back. A couple just talking to him afterwards. He knows he's got to make that save. He didn't in that game. He knows that he will moving forward, where Keeper was just Matthew Keeper, right? He's only allowed 2 goals in 120 minutes.
For sure. And then the last question is, and obviously this is more relevant for games 3 and 4 because they're in Humboldt and Braden Klamosko, Carter Hansen have the last change. But how many minutes can Oakley McIlwain play in this series because he's so important to the Broncos?
Yeah, to me, it didn't seem they overtaxed him in game 1 or game 2. I don't think he was left out hung to dry. Rodman, Olsen, they were all playing a little bit more in game 2 with Ryder Knutson being suspended, but there's no cause for concern there.
We obviously just can't make this all about Humboldt either. So we, also having Leighton Carruthers back clearly right away, paying dividends. Hopefully he's okay. He left game 2. Didn't come back after the second period.
Paying dividends is saying it lightly. Yeah. He's a mule out monster there, man.
And didn't miss a beat. Didn't need any time to wade back in. So hopefully he's not too banged up.
3 power play goals.
If I can cut you off there, Nugsy. Just speaking of Leighton Carruthers, we don't do Players of the Week now in come playoff time, but we do, however, do Game 1 and Game 2. Each game gets a playoff performer of the night. And for Game 1, it was Leighton Carruthers was the playoff performer of the night. So he had a 2-goal night in Game 1 versus Humboldt in that 5-0 win. And you know what? It was his first game back. And like you said, Rory, the guy didn't look like he missed a beat out there. He looked great.
He's a physical specimen. He controls the game with how physically mature and strong, which doesn't impact his skating. He is, right? Like he's that type of player that it's a difference maker when he's on the ice. And yes, he did leave the game in the second period. Prior to that, he was out since January 8th. I don't know any details on if it's another lengthy injury, if that might do it. I do not feel that Flin Flon rushed him back too early for a player that's been out since January 8th. You expect him to be ready in a 3-month time, and the playoffs, you can't save a guy for a finals. You need to make the finals first, right? So I don't think anything was rushed early if he is out for longer, just considering how long his first injury was out for. But when he's on the ice, he makes a difference, and especially on the power play, because they put him on the left side or in front of the net, and he is immediately in the house, which we said was a matchup to watch, and good luck moving him out of the house, right? He will take a beating to get a puck and score a goal, and he did that 3 times in the series.
Yeah, he's a big body. I think a lot of people in the queue, because he was a 3rd overall pick, thought he'd be this dynamic, individual offensive flashy guy in the queue. Played a lot of games in the queue, but that wasn't really his game. His game is more, as you said, he has got hands. He'll use his composure and make things happen, but his biggest problem is when he's around the blue paint and making things happen. So, good for him and good for Flin Flon to get him back. Also good for Liam Hunks to get, he got 4 points in the 2 games too. Yeah. And again, you just put good players around good players, and good players make good things happen. So.
And Flin Flon's dogs were their dogs, right? Ryder Ringer, 6 points. Keith Gruner generating face-off wins, picked up a point. I think that was 2 points, maybe a goal and assist. Leighton Carruthers back, 3 goals. Liam Hunks, 4 points. Luke Lepper, transitional play, picks up a couple apples. Yeah, their dogs were their dogs, and that's how you got to get out of a hard first-round series. You need your best players to be your best players. I feel Flin Flon was the better team in that regard through the majority of 120 minutes.
Well, let's move on to the next series then. Weyburn Battlefords. Newsy, I'm going to come back to you on this one because you were in the building, obviously, for game 2. But Weyburn wins game 1, 4-3. Battleford storms back and, like you said, really outplayed Weyburn in game 2, 5-2.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Weyburn Battlefords. What do you have from that series? What stands out?
Yeah, it's so weird. These two teams, to me, were actually the hardest teams in the league to get a grip on which two would show up on a given night, even during the regular season. Like, when Weyburn is at their best, we've seen them. They could beat anybody and be better than anybody and not just hang on. And Battlefords has beaten everybody all year long. So, you know, it was just because it was in Weyburn, Battlefords didn't look overawed. They got into their game, you know, really, really quickly. And maybe with the exception of the second period in game 1, this could be 2-0 Battlefords very, very easily, because Battlefords was certainly the better team in game 2. And from, you know, what I watched and what I heard, were the better team most of game 1 as well. So Cody Mapes has some back to the drawing board to think about with this team. You know, I don't know the extent of the illness to Ethan DK, but he was not healthy in game 1 when he played, and he didn't play in game 2. So that's a big miss as well when you have a weapon like that that's not on the bench. And then, you know, the Battlefords North Stars did a great job giving Jerome Maharaj no time and space at all, really, as I didn't see him much of a factor in game 2 at all when I was there. So, you know, Nikita Ivashenko on the flip side, you talk about the Stars, the dogs being the dogs. You know, Nikita was flying up and down and set up Colton Getzlaff for 2 beauties in the first period in game 2. And just, again, it's out in transition. If you can keep the puck, you know, away from the transition against either of these teams, you got a chance. And that's why it's going to be a track meet every game between these two. Could be 7 track meets, but it's back and forth and end to end, and not a lot of ground and pound, not a lot of forecheck, and not a lot of, you know, trench battles. But I'm sure both coaches are highlighting that for both teams, and you know, it's been a lot of fun to watch so far, and it's just, you know, worth the price of admission whenever these two teams do battle.
For sure. Rory, has anything stood out from this series from you?
Just the way the Battlefords have started games and kind of controlling the pace early, which we talked about the pace and how things will open up at times. But if you control it, if you win faceoffs and start the play right, you're going to have a better chance to win. And I thought Battlefords did that for the majority of the first couple games, including just the beginning of the game. They dictated how that game was going to go. It fell apart in one game, but they dictated it.
And you know what, again, if you just look at stats, you say, oh, the goalies haven't been good, blah, blah, blah. Actually, the goalies have both been terrific. It's just 80s style hockey with these two teams. Like, it's just kind of end-to-end stuff. So,
Nugzy, what were the burning questions coming into the series?
Sure. So which Justin Merrick will show up at his best? He's been unbeatable and will have to be again for the Stars this year.
Well, I think we've seen.
I think totally no mark.
They can
or
win the
knock
series
on
with how he's
Justin
playing.
Merrick.
Yeah, he's been terrific. Are the North Stars really the underdogs, given that they have taken 7 of a possible 8 points from the Wings this season?
Never thought they were. I picked them in 6 games, and now they definitely aren't after stealing home ice. Is what they did.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Of course, Weyburn has the weaponry to go up to Battlefords and do the exact same thing, by the way. So we'll see what happens. And which Weyburn pairing will get the task of stopping what might be the best line down the stretch, Campbell between Ivashenko and Nittig? That question didn't really turn out right, because it was Ivashenko and Getzlaff that was really the pairing for Battlefords. So maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But, you know, obviously the task kind of went to Josh Carman, and he played a lot. And, you know, fairly well, I guess. But again, it was not just one guy for Weyburn that looked kind of flat over these 2 games. I understand they have a bit of a flu bug, but you know, everybody has injuries and illness at this point. So I'm sure the Weyburn Red Wings are doing a little bit of soul searching, and probably can feel a little bit fortunate that it's just a split right now.
Right, it's a split, and you know, this series has Game 7 written
all over it. Yeah, all over it. It's crazy.
It's fun though. Boy, is it fun.
Yes, and hockey's supposed to be fun, right, Nugzy? That's what we always say. Let's move on to the Yorkton Melville series. Yorkton won game 1, 4-1. I was in the building for that one. Like I said, it was a very close game, and the crowd was fantastic, you guys, in game 1. They were into it. You know, my favorite part in playoff hockey, when you're in the building, especially with a team that has other, like the opposing fans in the building as well, you can feel that there's a little bit of that contentious energy. But when a referee does or doesn't make a call that the crowd does or doesn't agree with, the level of animosity that comes up is fantastic. That's my favorite part of junior hockey. I always say, because I'm a former game day operations guy myself, so my job for a few years in junior hockey was to make the crowd have a good time. I've always said, You cannot do any preparations or any promotions or any crowd engagement activities that will get a crowd more fired up than if they don't agree with the call a referee makes. That is the best possible way to fire up a crowd, in my opinion. And it happened a couple of times in Yorkton on Friday night. It was fantastic. And nothing, the refs didn't do anything wrong. I'm not saying that.
No.
I'm just saying that's how hockey is. And nothing makes a crowd more fired up, especially in a contentious playoff rivalry game, than if they don't agree with the call.
Some crowds do it better than others,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because it's more frequent or it's louder, but some crowds are just better at it, and it sparks their team.
Yeah.
Yorkton, Flin Flon are two of the best, and I would never discredit Yorkton at the ability to make energy and make emotion out of just not their team scoring goals. They find other ways to do it. They find that building to get loud. They're very, very good at it.
Yeah. Well,
it's a tool too. It's a weapon when you're a home side. It's a weapon.
Absolutely. And this series so far is full of emotion. But again, I had my concern from a Melville Millionaires perspective coming into the series. And yes, I picked Yorkton in 6. I was the only one, I think, of the group to say something other than 7.
I think I picked Melville in 7. Yeah.
I said 6. Yorkton 6.
Did you?
We had the exact same.
Oh,
I threw Melville 7.
So my concern was that every time I've watched this, Melville comes out of the way that they play and try to play like Yorkton.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened in these 2 games. And again, call me a genius if you want. That's fine. I like to look in the mirror and be like, you're a genius.
Nugesy does it all the time.
I do it all the time. Look, Doug Johnson has to get his guys to get back to Melville Millionaires hockey. This kind of open track meet. Yes, they were they were not far from winning game 2. They were 4 seconds away from winning game 2. So there you go. Preston Bearwald scored with about a minute left, and then it was tied up with 4 seconds left in game 2. But still, it's a track meet. And who does that suit? That suits the Yorkton Terriers. Now, yes.
That was the case on Friday for sure.
And that was the case on Friday. But, it was really entertaining on Sunday. I'm not saying that. But if it's an entertaining hockey game, it's not going the way the Melville Millionaires want.
Right.
And we've talked about that constantly since Doug Johnson took over, really, in Yorkton those 2 years. So, it's an interesting situation there for Melville. They're going to come home. This is a 4-5. This is a Melville team that has a decent amount of talent. Do they have enough firepower? That's one of my burning questions, I guess. If they get in a track meet to fight Yorkton, I would say no. But anyways, I don't know. Would you guys say Melville? To what degree is Melville in trouble?
Not in trouble. It's going to go back to Melville, where they have shown time after time that they play their style of the game, which is what you want them to do, better at home. Right? They play it better at home rather than in Yorkton. Yeah. Although against Yorkton at home, it's lesser than against other teams at home. But just like Elvis Stoico, nothing is taking a back seat. Elvis Stoico taking no back seat.
No.
The Yorkton Terriers offense is not taking a back seat right now. We said, is it going to be the offense or the defense that will shine through for Yorkton or Melville, respectively? So far, it's Yorkton's offense that's been the shining aspect. No team has scored more second period or third period goals than Yorkton in the regular season, which was 164 final 40-minute goals in the regular season combined. Yorkton has outscored Melville 7-1 in second and third periods in 2 games so far. Their offense has just taken over. Doesn't matter if it doesn't work in the first period. Yes, game 2 should have went to Melville, but 4 seconds is too many seconds for Yorkton's offense, and it keeps shining, it keeps scoring. And right now, that's the thing that, it's an issue, but Melville has shown they play better defense at home. So let's wait for game 3 before you panic.
No, I just want to point something out really quick, Nugesy. Bryce has this video almost as quiet as you can possibly make it so that it doesn't overdo the audio. I heard Blake Friars screaming for that game-tying goal with volume at like 1 out of 100. He was screaming so loud. Very exciting stuff. There it is.
Yeah, there's David Coyle's winner. David Coyle,
the winner.
The funny thing is, we were talking about the playoff performer for game 2, and David Coyle, won it.
If you want to put it up now, actually, Jordan, go for it.
The thing is, somebody whose last name rhymes with Schmackentire said that Coyle could have missed a couple open nets too in this game.
Right.
And I'm sure David's sitting at home being like, you know what, like we won. That's the most important thing. But I'm sure he's like, I could have had like 4, 5, 6 goals in this game. That means how many chances he and Denoyer carved out for David Coyle. Coyle. And, who's a hotter goal scorer in the SJHL right now than David Coyle?
No.
Not really anybody. So, Coyle, boy, oh boy, keep on keeping on, but he keeps flying, and he could have had 5 goals probably in this game.
Did we have burning questions? We didn't do that yet, did we?
Just quickly, I guess, the intensity of this highly anticipated rivalry will be at a fever pitch.
Yeah.
Which of these clubs will manage their emotions correctly?
Well, so far, it's been Yorkton.
Clearly
But I guess to add to that, was there a goalie question in this one?
No.
No. To add to that, who do you guys think that Melville will go with? Because both goalies played. Do you think they'll go back to Lorette for Game 3?
I think it's going to be alternating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
would have to
Back
think
to
it's gonna be
Lorette.
Ben
Jeanette did actually make some terrific saves, but he let in a few. He probably wants back too. So
And I will say
go back
this,
to Lorette.
for Game 1, the first goal, to me, it was kind of like a broken play in front of the net. They tapped it in. The second goal was one of the, it probably wants it back. It was off a face-off, and it kind of just tucked it in. I think it was Evan Ald. The third goal was one of the craziest tips I've ever seen. It was the craziest deflections. I honestly, thinking, I was right there, it was right in front of me because we were standing in the corner. I don't know if it went up, down, sideways, who got it. There was 6 guys in front of the net. One of the craziest deflections I've seen. And then the fourth one was an empty netter. So to me, Ben Lorette played pretty good in Game 1. I would be very comfortable going back to him in Game 3.
And you know what? For all my blithering about Melville not playing their game, Yorkton deserves a lot
Yeah.
of credit. They were flying. So there you go.
And a lot of power play goals,
Lots
too.
of power plays.
Yeah.
Best power play in the regular season, best power play so far as well. in the
Power plays
playoffs.
opportunities have been even.
Yeah.
Yorkton's had 7, Melville's had 6.
Yeah.
But Yorkton's taking.
Well, that's the regular season too, between the two teams.
Yeah, Yorkton's taking advantage.
And we talked about whether the Mills have enough offense to play this way and win. We don't need to go into that. The answer is already no.
Yeah.
Who will win the battle between Chemis and Belle-Île and Coyle and Denye? So far, I think it's pretty obvious that Denye and Coyle are having their way. So there you go.
There you go. Before we get to Nugs and Notes, let's have a look at the overall bracket. We'll have just one quick more recap of how these games have kind of shaken down. As you can see, there's 3 2-0 series, 1 1-1 series. Melfort Game 3, Melfort Kindersley's Game 3 is in Kindersley tomorrow night. Flin Flon Humboldt's Game 3 is in Humboldt tomorrow night. Game 3 for Weyburn Battlefords is in Battlefords tomorrow night, and then Yorkton Melville takes place in Yorkton tomorrow night. All three of the top 3 games are at 7:30, and then Melville's at 7 o'clock. So just keep that in mind, and it'll be a great time in all 4 rinks. So make sure, if you haven't already, get your tickets now. Did I miss something? I don't think so. I think we're good. So it's time for News and Notes.
There's my buddy. What a guy. Maybe he'll be the broadcaster for the one Wolverines.
Could be. Everything's going AI and animation.
He's
these
very
days.
talented. That
He's
guy.
very expensive, too.
He's very expensive, and he's quite a gymnast.
His rates are
He's
insane.
way more athletic than I am.
rates.
He's got a huge ego. Anyways, Nugs and Notes. The Cattlemen's Saskatchewan, the Burger Challenge was really, really fun. And let's get the leaderboard up. And congratulations to the Flin Flon Bombers and Melville Millionaires who take the co-title. They're the Saskatchewan Cattlemen's Association Rink Burger Challenge. All 12 videos are up now, including Notre Dame, which I will promote on social media tomorrow. But you can go to YouTube and check it out now if you want to. The 11th one was Melfort as well, who almost snuck in there and claimed, I guess, silver or bronze. I don't really know how the Olympics work. But they get the
Bronze is
Okay.
third place, Nugsy.
No, I know, but I'm just saying it's tied for one.
it's
and
tied.
then-
Right.
I think there's
So-
no silver. Or is there no bronze? Yeah, I don't know.
You know, there are some Olympic events that would give out for
Yeah.
a tie score 2 gold medals and then a silver and then a bronze.
Nipawin would get bronze.
Right.
In that case.
Okay.
In that
Yeah,
case.
so there you go.
I could
See,
be wrong on that.
It wasn't a stupid question.
No,
It was a
you're
good
right. There's no
question.
such thing as a
We
stupid.
could have a whole entire
thank
show
you.
on it if you want to.
Thank you. Great. All right. Well, anyways, next year
Breaking
we'll have
down.
a gluten-free Rink Burger Challenge.
Now
That'll
we're
be way better.
talking.
All right, move on. Let's move on. Voting for the highlight of the year and the RBC Community Ambassador are both up on the website. You just go down to the bottom of the screen, click on the RBC Community Ambassador link, and then scroll down the bottom of that screen. You'll find the voting. Also, you can find the post on sjhl.ca for the highlight of the year. There's the Community Ambassador finalists. Gage Roberts was actually out to a huge lead to start with, the fine Nipawin Hawks goaltender. So I'm sure that'll be heated, and I'm sure I've seen all those communities get involved already on social media, so I'm really happy to see that. Moving on as well, the U Sports Cup, the University Championship went down on Sunday in Ottawa, and the number 8 seed Ottawa GGs are the national champions
Wow.
with my buddy, Elliot Dutiel, the former Notre Dame Hounds Junior A forward. We got a picture of him with the cup here. There he is.
Look at him.
What a happy guy. Great kid. Really happy to see. Obviously, he won the national championship with Brooks as well in Portage. So, he's just does nothing but win. So I'm happy for him. The U of S won bronze. There were 9 SJHL alumni in the lineup in that bronze medal game against Toronto Metropolitan, the Bold. So congratulations there. Third straight ACAC title for Red Deer.
Yes.
They had 13 SJHL alumni in the lineup. Rylan McNinch, the former Battlefords North Star, scored a goal and had an assist. Clay Sleva, of course, of Melfort and Yorkton, had an assist in the championship game against Briarcrest, who had 7 SJHL alumni, including the Little brothers, Keegan Little and Jaden Little.
Oh, they weren't little. They're
Not little, though. They're big boys.
Yeah.
Among others, Curtis Weeb, Jake Dale, former Notre Dame Hounds. Moving on as well, just the D1, a little bit of an update. The University of Maine, the number 3 seed, with Nolan Renwick, who played junior Hounds. He is going on to the regionals to take on Penn State next Friday in Allentown, Pennsylvania. That they have to win a game, and then they have to win the next game, and then they get to the Frozen Four. So that's the University of Maine. And then Tristan Lemire, former Flin Flon Bomber, and his Western Michigan University on Thursday will take on Minnesota State in Fargo, North Dakota in their regional as well. So a couple SJ alum trying to make it to the Frozen Four. And then finally, the Saskatchewan U18 AAA finals have begun.
Gosh, yes.
And apparently it was bananas at the Co-operators Arena in Regina. 2-1 Regina Pac Canadians win. Future Yorkton Terrier Luke McKechnie apparently was incredible in net for Moose Jaw. But potentially former or future and also AP Flin Flon Bomber Jonas Sievertson was in on the points. Humboldt Broncos prospect Eli Johnson was in on the points. Taylor Tabashniak was very good, and the Melville Millionaires prospect also very good in net for the Pac Canadians. And the Warman prospect Brennan Brown scored the Moose Jaw goal. So lots of future SJHL content going on in that finals. So Regina has a 1-0 lead on Moose Jaw in the U18 AAA finals.
There you go. That's it.
Nicely done.
I was in the building, because it's a huge building.
It's a big building.
I played a senior game across the hallway before their game started.
It was packed,
It was insane.
Yeah.
And then I heard I had a couple buddies that were in the building.
Kelly Semple.
Yeah, a couple buddies that were in the building and said it
Not
was
a single
nuts.
thing about Canada soccer.
Oh, yeah, and Canada beat the USA in the third place game of the Nations League. Great goal by Jonathan David to beat the Americans.
You shouldn't have said anything.
In Los Angeles.
We were
by
almost
the way.
out of
it. It was
it.
a great performance. Well, it was an okay performance. The Americans are terrible, though. Oh, my goodness. They are awful right now, and they just bought this $6 million manager, Marcio Parchettino, to come in and fix USA national team, and they are garbage, but Canada's better. So anyways, Canada finished third. If we had won the championship, I'd probably been more fired up, but whatever.
You need a soccer podcast, too.
Yeah, soccer podcast coming later. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Battleford's North Stars head coach and general manager Marty Smith is going to join us, so stick around till after the break.
Your new truck trade-up has arrived at Capital GMC. Volume pricing is back. As inventory levels go up, prices come way down. And right now, we have over 250 brand new GMC Sierras to choose from. Lease a Crew Cab 4x4 Pro Edition for only $269 bi-weekly plus tax with $0 down. Or work with our finance experts to get the best available rates. Plus, GM certified pre-owned inventory is back too. Shop over 150 vehicles, all makes, all models. It's finally time for your new truck trade-up, only at Capital GMC.
Each year, the SCSA issues over 10,000 training certificates to the construction professionals who build our province. That's the population of Martinsville. Learn more at scsaonline.ca.
Saskatchewan's far north is where the land itself inspires. It's the beauty and power of wilderness, the solitude of a place far removed from what you might know. When this landscape surrounds you, it's like nothing else. Come and let it awaken you, energize you. Come and create your story in our Northern Lights and Waterways, Saskatchewan.
In a year where Amazon sold its first book, Alanis topped the charts, and the Frappuccino became cool, we were there. Trusted by the Saskatchewan construction industry since 1995. Learn more at scsaonline.ca.
As a student, things can pile up fast. Ouch. But the RBC Student Banking Bundle makes back to school easier with up to $275 in value. That's a whole pile of takeout.
Introducing SaskTel Student Saving Tips. Tip number 138. You could build your own pallet furniture.
So you're living on your own. You gotta save money by building furniture with pallets.
Or get Infinite 150 for only $50 a month with SaskTel Student Deals.
Increase your home comfort with high-efficiency natural gas equipment. Sask Energy offers rebates so you can lower your energy use and save money. For a list of rebates, contact a participating network member or visit saskenergy.com.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
All right, welcome back inside the SJHL Weekly studio. I'm Clark Munroe with Rory McGouran and Jamie Neugebauer, and we're going to be joined now on the video chat line with head coach and general manager Marty Smith of the Battlefords North Stars. Now, Marty, we tried to get you on Thursday last week, and it didn't quite work. We had some technical issues on our end, but I'm hoping it's working now. Hello, Marty.
Hey, guys. How's it going today?
What has happened?
Great. That was, I'm going to say that's Bryce. Bryce pushed the wrong button. And I know exactly what he did because it's happened before on shows that I've worked on. Anyways, it's technical stuff. We don't have to get into it. But Marty is with us. He can hear us.
Maybe he thought I had a face for radio, so he's taking it off.
Veering it off.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what's going on, and I know Bryce and Jordan are in the back right now figuring it out. But what I will say, Marty, because we can still hear you, so why don't we just go into it now? Talk to us about games 1 and 2 in Weyburn. I mean, it was an interesting game 1, very tight, and then game 2, it seemed like you guys really came out strong. Can you talk about games 1 and 2 for us?
Well, I think it was as expected. I mean, both teams are very similar. I think right from goaltending to defense to our forward core is very similar to what Weyburn is. And, the games during the regular season were very tight, and we expected that in games 1 and 2 and throughout this whole series. So we knew it was going to be close. It could be a matter of one mistake that can turn a game either way. And I thought there was a lot of emotion in game 1. I thought that there was some momentum swings at different times in the game. And, I thought it was, exactly what the fans expected from the two teams. And, it was at what we kind of expected as well. And then game 2, I thought we just we came out with a good start and got a lead. And, I thought we let Weyburn get back in the game. They ended up getting a lot of momentum, and we found our feet again, and were able to get out the victory.
I was in the building, as you know, in game 2. It was a terrific performance. We always talk about your best players need to be your best players, and I think there's no question that your most skilled player is Nikita Ivashenko. Maybe just tell us what you tell people when they ask you to describe him, because in the first 2 games he was flying, and it seemed like the Red Wings part of me had a hard time finding an answer for him.
Well, I think he plays with a lot of energy, and he likes to have the puck, and I think he's I wouldn't want to say your typical European player because I think he plays a lot grittier than some that you see come over. But he likes to go hard to the net. He likes to have the puck in his stick. He likes to shoot the puck. He's very dynamic, and I know he has a lot to prove because of the fact that we know he went to the World Juniors, but he didn't play till the final game because of tonsillitis, and then that flared up again at the showcase when, he was hoping to get some attention there. So, I think he just wants to go out there and play the best he can and help us win in doing that.
Just from a coaching standpoint, what is the biggest sort of difficulty with pre-scouting and coaching your team to go up against the Weyburn Red Wings in a potential 7-game series? Because you guys do offer a lot of the same similarities, as you said. So when we kind of predicted, hey, this might end up being a track meet, a lot of run and gun, right? Is there a difficulty in trying to stay away from that, or are you okay with that going up against Weyburn?
Well, I don't think it's any different that you coach against any team, that you got to play on the defensive side of the puck. You can't be taking chances. You can't be fishing for pucks from the offensive side. It's taking care of your own end first, and then you'll get offensive opportunities off of that. And I think that's any team that you play against, in the SJHL. We know that, Weyburn have a quick transition. They've got a lot of speed up front. So, we know that we can't cough pucks up and get caught flat-footed.
I guess we, in the media or pundits, whatever, we like to use these terms, underdogs and top dogs and chips on shoulders and blah, blah, blah. But you guys, being the lower seed, had 7 of 8 points from Weyburn in the regular season. So, I got to ask you, Marty, what was the challenge maybe as a coaching staffer for yourself to say, it does not matter what happened in the regular season. This is a new day. We better bring our A game just because we had success against them in the regular season.
Well, we talked right from day one that the regular season doesn't mean anything. And those games in the regular season could have gone either way. They were very tight games with the exception of one on the second day of their 2-game road trip to North Battleford. But they also had a couple APs in the lineup. They had some key guys out of the lineup. So that's why we say the regular season doesn't mean anything. It's a whole new season right now, and you just got to start from scratch and you take it one game at a time. I know it sounds cliche, but I think that no matter who you're playing, it doesn't matter. It's a whole new season and a whole new ball game, and guys play through injuries at playoff time. They play through whether they're sick and everything else. And during the regular season, they might take that night off, and it's just so different than come playoff time that you're leaving everything on the ice.
I want to talk about your two other coaches that you work with now, letting into the playoffs for one that's been there all year for you. I know Nugsy wants to ask you about Jackson Allen taking that role on after leaving. So I'll start with Owen Lamb, another young coach that you've ridden alongside the whole way and, getting his coaching career started. What have you seen from Owen kind of stepping up into that role and taking on all the responsibility in such an exceptional job that he's been doing?
Well, I think first and foremost, I can't take this job without somebody in there that, like Owen, that has done such a great job, so well organized. I can't say enough about him on the not just the hockey stuff, but everything else that goes along with it. And we are familiar with each other. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Owen played 3 years for me. He played a year of Bantam at that time and played 2 years of U18 AAA for me. So there was that familiarity for sure coming in, and knew what was expected from me, and we're just on the same page with everything. I think he just brings such a dynamic. Now, the thing that he really adds to everything is that he's young. He can relate good to the players, and he also won 2 SJHL championships here. He knows, what it takes over a full season and into the playoffs, and that's an aspect that that I really like. And I just can't say enough good things about him. We work really well together, and like I said, I'm not doing this position if you don't have the right guy in there, and I'm really lucky to have the right person in there as an assistant.
For sure. And obviously, speaking of somebody that's beloved to the Battlefords North Stars organization, beloved to the SJHL, did a piece on him, the Cantera Seeds Golden Sheaf year or last year. I can't remember which one,
was
but
this
you
year,
can
I'm
look it
pretty
up.
sure.
This year, I think.
Yeah.
Of course, Jackson Allen, and none of us wanted to see anybody, have to step back due to an injury and whatnot. But for those that don't know, Jackson Allen has been named an assistant coach, I guess, for you, Marty. From captain to assistant coach, and he's helping you. And I saw he was up in the press box. So just take us through the decision, both from your guys' side, from his side, getting him to take this role on, and what exactly is he doing, and how have you seen him transition, I guess, abruptly to this new role?
Well, I think first and foremost, we all know what Jackson Allen brings to the Battlefords North Stars right from the day he got here. He was on that championship team. He's a leader. He's obviously named captain in the summer by Gary Childerhos and Owen as well. And I will say he's still our captain. Although he's an assistant coach, he's still our captain. I can get to that, more in a minute. But what he brought as a player and as a leader, and then he went down with an injury, and you think you have to work hard in the off season to be ready for a season, but when you get injured, the work ethic has to go twice as hard, and he did everything he could to get back and play. He was able to play. Obviously, he was wearing a brace, couldn't maneuver like he wanted to, but he found a way to compete. And I think he played probably 10 games when he returned and was injured again to the point where he couldn't even rehab it. We knew with the first injury he was going to have surgery, but when the second one happened, we knew that it was probably inevitable that he wasn't going to return, and we thought it was important to have him around. And even when he was, playing and was a captain, we did bounce things off him. Obviously, he had a good feel for the room and the players, and we respect his opinion so much that it was a no-brainer to get him to come in and offer him the, rather than he wanted to stick around, he didn't want to leave. So rather than just kind of hang out and not really know, what his role was, let's bring him on as an assistant coach. And his first 2 games that he was in that role, and obviously we can't have him on the bench because it happened after February 10th. Otherwise, we could have dropped him off his playing card, put him on a coach's card. So he's not on the bench, but he's in the press box. And let me tell you, he takes it seriously. He's cutting clips during the period. He's keeping notes. He's documenting different things. And he comes in every period and meets with Owen and I and goes over. He's the eye in the sky. And I can say this with certainty: he'll be a coach at some point in his career, and he'll be a good one because he understands the game so well. And it's been a blessing that we've added him to our staff with Owen and I.
Well, I'll tell you what, running into him into the press box there in Weyburn, he had a game face on. I was trying to, joke around with him or whatever. The game was about to start. He wasn't rude. He was also always very kind or whatever. But he walked by. He's like, "Yep, good to see you." Just onto it. He wasn't in a joking mood. So he had his game face on, even though he wasn't in the game. So kudos there. Last question from me, and it's kind of a rapid fire-y one, but whatever. Obviously, for those that don't know, your nephew Kean Bell is kind of a legend with the team and had his number retired, and you as well. At the ceremony there in the summer that I was very lucky to be at. Be a bit a part of, I guess. But, I got to ask you, what are you finding more nerve-wracking now, that the playoffs are on, Marty, to watch your, Kean and those boys a couple of years ago, or be the coach of the team this year? Which one do you find tougher?
I think watching him was more nerve-wracking because you're up there and you're just watching things transpire and everything else. But when you're on the bench and involved, you fall into a rhythm, and you're so busy that with everything you're managing, what's going on. And I always say sometimes after coaching a game, it's like you played 3 yourself, and you need that downtime afterwards. And But I really enjoyed the fact that Kean got to play here for a couple seasons, and I was able to watch him, with his SJHL career and the success that he has. And obviously, I was a proud uncle, but I'm glad he was done last year because I wouldn't want to have to bench him this year.
Yeah, I don't know if you and Fiona would have come to some blows over that probably. So. Smart man right here, smart man.
I love the question because it'll roll right in to Rory's rapid fire. It'll be a quick one. I got 5 of them for you. Marty, you had a long playing career, right, in a lot of different spots. But as the coach of the North Stars, what was the biggest game that you kind of played in where you can pull something from it in order to give your team a pep talk, like just out of memory to drive something? What big game would that be from?
Well, we talked about it at one time during the year, is that you don't mess with the hockey gods. So, I was in a series one time where we knocked off the top seed in game 1, and we had some guys pointing at the clock, and the next thing you know, we woke the bear and poked the bear, and it was a different series. So that was one lesson that we learned on that side of it. But on the other side of it, there's one game that sticks out in my mind that we were down by 2 goals with 17 seconds left, and we scored 2 to tie it and won in double overtime. So never quit, no matter how much time's on the clock. And obviously the Yorkton Terriers did that last night. And if there's time, you never know.
254 regular season games in the SJHL. Who was your least favorite team to play and your least favorite player to go up against?
Probably going to the Whitney Forum in their tough days. They had a lot of tough players. That was a tough place to play. I think one of the guys that were the toughest to play against, but a lot of respect for, was Corey McKee in Flin Flon. He made my life miserable when we would go up there, but not cheap shot. He was always, played me hard in that, but I didn't get a lot of room when he was on the ice.
So you are the coach in a hypothetical scenario. Well, you are the coach in a literal scenario, but let's put it into a hypothetical scenario. You're the coach. You are coaching yourself at your prime. You're also coaching Kean on the same team. 3rd period, tie game, penalty shot. Who are you giving the shot to?
Kean.
Not you?
No, he's got too many moves, and he's more he's today's player. Back then we used to just go as fast as we could and either shoot or deke. Now they've got so much in their arsenal that I think I'd be sending him.
Fair enough. Final one about those young coaches that are up and comers and big ones. At the moment right now, you got yourself, you got Owen, you got Jackson. If you guys need a big pep talk, who's giving it?
Well, all 3 of us, because that's what we do. I'll say my piece and then turn it over to Owen, and the last word goes to the captain, and he usually finishes it off. So have to say all 3 of us.
Thanks, Marty.
Love that. Marty, obviously, that'll roll into my next question to kind of finish this off. Back home now, what's the message to the team going into games 3 and 4 this week?
Well, just, take care of the little things. I saw a quote from Gardner McDougall. Everybody knows the success he had at University of New Brunswick. And he said, the deeper you go, the more simple you play. And I think it's the little things that win playoff games. And, that's the message to our guys is take care of the little things. And then let's see what happens from there.
Perfect. Well, we can't wait to see those games. It's going to be electric. So if your fans are watching, make sure you get your tickets now. Get in the building. Fill that place up.
Pack that ACC.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Marty, thanks for joining us today. Appreciate the time.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
All right, there's Marty Smith. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to do a quick playoff draft, boys. Playoff pool draft. Yeah, we got to go quick. Quick one. Let's have a break, and we'll see you in a couple minutes.
The Chevrolet Silverado 1500. Advanced power and capability to tackle the long hauls. Style to make a statement on the streets. Visit ChevroletOffers.ca to learn more.
Each year, the SCSA issues over 10,000 training certificates to the construction professionals who build our province. That is the same population as Weyburn. Learn more at scsaonline.ca.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year. Everyone wins.
My name is Kyle McIntyre, and I'm the commissioner of the SJHL. We have 12 teams spread out all over this amazing province. 12 teams that hit the road for a combined 324 season games. We take hockey players, we make them better. We make them better at hockey and better at life. That's what the SJHL is all about. We have a great league, we have great teams, great ownership, the best fans, the best partners, and the best sponsors.
Sask Energy Network members are the best choice for natural gas solutions for your home or business. With comprehensive services like heating equipment maintenance, appliance installation, and in-store financing, they have natural gas solutions that go beyond heating to bring you the comfort, efficiency, and reliability of natural gas, both indoors and outdoors, all year long. For whole home natural gas solutions, network members burn brighter.
Introducing SaskTel Student Saving Tips. Tip number 236. You could dye your own hair. Or you could save up to $20 a month on a new wireless plan with SaskTel Student Deals.
Enjoying what's around you. That's what it's all about. Farm to table, in season, locally foraged, look out the window and that's exactly what you'll see on your plate. It's the kind of experience that you'll compare everything else to for years to come. And it's so close, you can almost taste it. Indulge in our unlimited lakes and parkland. Saskatchewan.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
All right, let's get right into it. It's segment 3 of SJHL Weekly. Myself, Rory, and Jamie. And in the back, we have Director Bryce, Director Jordan. I know, is Kelly hanging around back there too?
I'm sure he'll hear.
He'll come down
once he hears.
Yeah, let's do it though. It's time. We got to do our playoff draft now. In years past, we usually do it after game 1 and 2. So this isn't out of the ordinary that there's already been 2 games played. We've done this before. It just, the timing of it all just works out the way that it does. So we have to randomly generate the order of the draft. So Bryce, why don't we bring up the wheel now? As you can see, these are the 4 teams we had during the regular season. We're keeping all the same names. So why don't we spin the wheel and see who gets pick number 1. Now this is a snake draft, so if you get 1, you also get 8. And it looks like it's gonna be
the defending champion.
So the regular season champion gets the first overall selection. So we're not going to do the pick right now. Let's take him out of there. We'll get the second pick. Who's it going to be? It's going to be... looks like it's going to be Rory. All right, so Rory's got pick number 2 and pick number 7 in the first 2 rounds. And then let's do it again. And this is going to take him out. It's just going to be me and the Crusaders now.
Do you want last pick?
I don't know. Do I? I guess I get pick number 3. Pick number 3 for me. So I get pick number 3 and pick number 6. And now it looks like the Crusaders are going to do 4 and 5 back to back. So Gentlemen, Nugsy, you are first up. Who are you going to take with your first pick? And now you're tracking these two, right? You're
Nugsy's
writing these
got it
down?
written down.
So it's the order is one is Nugsy, Rory,
me, Crew,
okay, then Crew,
and then
so
backwards.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I get
Got
the
it?
first pick.
All right.
Did you also say that we're taking 5 players and one has to be a
Oh, I
defenseman?
did not. So the rules are we're not doing goalies for this one because goalies in playoffs are kind of team stats. So we're going to go 5 players. Just keep it simple. 5 players. One of those players at least can be more, but one at least has to be a defenseman.
Right.
So it couldn't be more. You can take 5 defensemen if you want.
With the first pick in
Oh
the
boy, I
playoff
feel like
draft,
that smile. I know who you're
Team
going with.
Nostradamus is taking Mr. Liam Hunks.
There it is. There it is. The big
Picking
one.
my buddy.
I had a feeling you were going to go that direction.
He sent me a very nice message a couple Sundays ago.
To take him first overall?
No, to say thanks for all you did for Notre Dame and blah blah blah.
Oh wow, he deserves it.
So I decided that day that I would pick him.
He deserves it.
Yeah,
Rory?
so going Liam Hunks.
Okay, 20 seconds on the clock. I don't need it. I'm going to Yorkton, and I'm going to take David Coyle.
David Coyle, second overall pick. Well done. With the third overall pick, I am going to go to Melfort and go with Riley Kotai. Riley Kotai, third overall.
For some reason, I thought he could slide to 7.
Well, he could have. There's a lot of good players
I'm
here.
just kidding.
There's a ton of good players. The Crusaders, Kelly has joined the fray, and he is in the picture now.
Yeah.
Jordan is also contributing, I am sure. All right, gentlemen, you got back-to-backs.
Yeah, we're going to go Ryder Ringer and Ashton Hutchinson.
There you go.
Just take the top 2.
Taking the top 2 on the leaderboard in the scoring. I think that comes back to me now. So I am going to go with, back to Melfort, I'm going to go Zach Summers. I'm going to go Zach Summers with my second pick.
Okay.
So that's back to Rory now.
Oh, this is easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, he says.
Yorkton line mate, Jaron Denoyer.
There you go. Going heavy Yorkton. Okay. Nugsy, back to you for back-to-backs now.
All right.
You've taken your defenseman, so you're good there.
Right. Great. So who's left in the league?
A lot of guys. A lot of guys.
Right. All right. Well, then, I am going to take a guy who has had who was actually the guy who's the leading scorer back from last year's playoffs, in terms of guys who are back this year in the playoffs. I'm going to go with Anthony Piccinino.
Nice.
Also a Toronto boy.
There you go.
Gotta mention
Okay. And you got back-to-back, so you go again.
Right. And so with my third pick, I'm going to take another veteran in Logan Belton.
Logan Belton. Very good selection.
Okay, so you made that pick. Belton is who I was going to pick, but I do want to get my blue liner out of the way, so I will stick, I'll go to Melfort, stick with you, and I'll take Nick Andrusiak.
There you go. I will go to Flin Flon for my pick for my defenseman and go Luke Lepper. No. Luke. Kelly. That's who they were going to pick. You got back-to-backs, though, boys, so you go ahead with your back-to-backs now.
Yeah. Well, I kind of threw a curveball there, taking.
You're welcome.
Luke
I have a
Lepper.
pretty good curveball. I don't know if you've seen it.
Lepper the Schlepper.
We're going to go D. We're going to go Jordan Grill.
Oh, good choice.
And then I think we got to go.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
The deliberation is intense.
Deliberation.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go Nikita.
Nikita Yavashenko.
So they're banking on Battlefords.
Okay.
There you
I think that
go.
comes back to me. I'm going to go the other team in that series, and I'm going to go with Jerome Maharaj. I'm taking
And
Team Nostradamus.
Is anybody going to yell at you for taking?
No, because this one's legit. He's actually playing games.
I'd say he
when I
was
picked
pretty
him.
much an SJHL player this season. Yeah, in the league, and I picked him for an SJHL draft. So.
Rory, you're on the clock here for your second last selection, I believe.
Yep.
And you have your defenseman, so you're good there. At least a defenseman.
Just kidding.
Sure. Great.
I'm drawing at straws here.
Well, you have 2 Yorkton Terriers and you have a Melfort Mustang.
Yeah. Okay. It's a risk. It's a risk here. But give me Streetsy.
Jacob Streetsy from the
There's
Humboldt
nasty.
Broncos.
All right. I had my pick in my head 1 second ago.
And it's gone.
But now it's gone. But now
It's
I have
gone.
it back again.
Yep.
And I'm going to go with a guy who's kind of come in late to make a big statement, but that is a very talented guy, and his name is Mr. Tate Schofer.
Mm-hmm. With the Yorkton
the
Terriers.
Yorkton
And you got back-to-back,
Terriers.
so you go right ahead.
Yes, and that means that I have to make another pick.
It
is
does.
What you are also saying.
It does mean that. Yeah.
And so, you know what? I'm gonna go a little bit off the wall here. Well, I don't know. Maybe not. Not that off the wall. I'm gonna go with a guy who just scores big goals. He just scores big goals, and he's got a great mustache. And his name is Danton Cox.
Danton Cox. Nice.
Go with Danton
The
Cox.
Melfort Mustangs.
So I have one more pick after this, right?
No, that was it.
No, really?
That was it.
Do you want to change?
Yes.
No.
Well,
Damn.
I feel
I thought I had one more.
I
Never
feel
mind.
you
It's
could
fine.
change.
I mean, you didn't take your finger off the button yet, so if you want to,
All right. Can I change?
feel bad for Danton
I
now,
like
though.
Danton. He's going to be mad at me, but that's fine. But I really want this guy. So I thought I had one more pick, so it's my mistake. With the math. I'm better math right now. The last pick, I am sorry, Danton. I'm switching it up. I'm going to go with my good buddy, Mr. Turtleneck, Cypress Smith Davis.
Of course you are. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, Rory, your
Little
final
box.
selection.
Final selection. I'm very okay with losing one player after the first round, so I'm going to make sure that I have a different series involved, and I'm going to take Cohen Senft.
Great selection. Great
Just
selection.
leaving us up.
And I am going to take, now I know there's maybe some concern here, but I took him in the regular season despite the concern. I'm taking him now despite the concern. Leighton Carruthers has not been selected yet, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to take him with my final selection.
Okay.
And the crew
With the very last
to wrap it up.
Well, you took Semp from us.
Yep.
So now we're going to do some...
It is. It's a big moment here. This is the final selection. This could make or break the entire thing. Now,
Cypress.
All right, we're going to go with Ashton Paul.
nice.
Good
Very,
pick.
very solid selection. Very, very
You know
solid.
who's been so happy with Ashton Paul lately is Trevor Blevins.
Yeah.
Like he's really, really impressed with
Saddlemeyer,
how
too, has
Ashton's
been kinda
coming.
turning it on, too, so.
Yeah.
There's some great
big time
selections
kudos
left. I
to
mean, if remember, guys, there's 8 teams that we have to select from. We're only picking 20 players total, so there's a lot of guys that could very well easily been picked here.
Hey, get mad at us if you want. Nobody
Yeah.
picked Jackson Ruthven.
Nobody picked Ethan DK.
Yeah.
Even though I know he's been sick, but like he's going to be back.
The rule of the game is you need guys that go far. So you have to have confidence in probably the top teams in the league. You can take a flyer on someone else that you think is going to break through in the first round, and that's the strategy.
And if you're mad we didn't pick you,
sorry.
Fire fueled.
Yeah.
Stoked. We're helping you out.
I mean, I started the show with an uproar. They can end the playoffs with an uproar that we didn't pick them.
Nugsy, do you want to do a quick recap of the picks?
Put your name
just
on
do the
it.
teams. Do the teams top to bottom. Like each team, top to bottom.
Yeah. So Team Nukestradamus is Liam Hunks, Anthony Piccinino, Logan Belton, Tate Schofer, and my boy Cypress Smith Davis, whose family I got the great catch up with there in Weyburn. Finding Rory, or whatever his team is going to be called, because Rory said he might change it. David Coyle, Jaron Denoyer, so he's got that top Yorkton line. Nick Andrusiak, Jacob Streetsy, and Cohen Senft. The Mummy Man.
That's me.
Wrote down Mummy Man.
Mummy?
Like the Mummy's boys.
Oh.
Anyway.
Good one.
Riley Kotai, Zach Summers, Luke Lepper, Jerome Maharaj, and Leighton Carruthers. And then the Crusaders have Ryder Ringer, Ashton Hutchinson, Jordan Grill, Nikita Ivashenko, and Ashton Paul.
There you go. That's going to be fun. It should be a fun finish. Let's bring up what do we want to bring up? Let's bring up the bracket schedule one more time. Jordan in the back there. We'll just go quickly over the schedule here because Game 3s are taking place tomorrow night. All 4 Game 3s tomorrow night in Kindersley, in Humboldt, in Battlefords, and in Melville. So make sure if you're in the areas or close or drivable distance, get your tickets, get to those games. Those rinks are going to be full. They're going to be exciting. It's going to be electric, so make sure you get there. Guys, final words on Games 3 and 4 coming up. Nugsy, I'll start with you. Games 3 and 4.
Yeah, get your tickets. I think I'll be there in Melville with Kyle McIntyre on Tuesday, and Clark and I, and who knows, maybe Kyle will be there in Humboldt on Wednesday too.
I believe that's the plan.
And Rory will also be there on Humboldt. So very excited to get in the rinks again. If you see us, say hello.
Rory?
Kindersley, Melville, Humboldt. Don't give up because 2 games is absolutely It's a hole. Let's be honest. It's a tough climb.
17
but,
series.
But it is not a near impossible climb.
Absolutely.
And all three of those series are shifting back to home for the teams that are down 2-0. We saw it last year with Weyburn coming back down from 2-0. Didn't win the series with forced game 7. Saw it Humboldt down 3-1 against Melfort. Came back, forced game 7. Didn't win the series. But as you mentioned, 2022, team was down 2-0. Came back, won the series in 6 games. It was only 3 years ago. So not out of it yet. And those three teams trying to claw back in.
And as the great Miley Cyrus once said, it's the climb.
Did she say that?
She did.
What
It's
was
one of
she
her
referring
songs.
to?
It's a song. It's not about the journey, or it's not about the end result. It's the climb.
Okay.
You know. So you just
sure
said it was-
about that?
Yes, I am sure about that. You said they're in a hole and they got to climb. So it's the climb. That's what it is. Let's thank our sponsors, and we'll say goodbye for the day. We have to, of course, thank our great sponsors over at Kentera Seeds, Morgo, Capital Automall, Sask Lotteries, Chevrolet, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Nutrien, Tourism Saskatchewan, Sask Energy, UPL, our great broadcast sponsors, of course, SGEU, Great Western, SGI, and RBC. Thanks so much. Make sure you get your tickets to the rinks. Get to those rinks, and we'll have you covered. Me and Nugs are going to do like a mini podcast thing on Thursday. It's not going to be a normal SJHL Insider. We have some crew restrictions here in terms of manpower, but we're going to give you some sort of content. So we'll recap Game 3 and 4, and we'll all be back here on Monday for another episode of SJHL Weekly. So get to the rinks. Enjoy the hockey, everybody. It's playoff time. It's electric. See you at the rinks.